thank you for joining us this evening for Trafficking in America Now. For those of you who have joined us for the first time, we're a weekly television program seen on Tuesday evenings, of course, Friday evenings and Saturday evenings on Comcast Channel 19. You know that because you're watching us right now. But we thank you for joining us. The purpose of our program is to educate you in Davidson County, in Tennessee, and across America about the issue of human trafficking and how it's plaguing our country. Specifically sex trafficking. Right now we are learning more about labor trafficking, which seems to be a much bigger problem, but our country's just not talking about that. So we're going to be addressing that in the future, but right now today we're primarily talking about sex trafficking of youth. The average age of a youth sex traffic victim is 12 to 13 years old. In America, there's 100,000 to 300,000 new victims every year in America, and it's growing. Those are old statistics, 7, 8 years old. So we know if that problem was that large back then, it's probably much larger now. People often ask me, what got you involved in working to eradicate human trafficking? What got you involved in creating your nonprofit organization? And we had a show earlier dedicated to A Dance for Bethany, which is our film about human trafficking. And I told how we started that film, what got us launched into this issue. And that was our beginning. But once we finished the film, we were still pricked in our hearts to do something more in America. And you say, why America? It's happening overseas. Why not go international with it? And it's because our heart's based towards America. We know that we're driving a lot of it across the world. A lot of people are addressing it in other countries, and that's commendable. But in America, we seem to say it always happens over there, but not over here. And for us, we feel we need to address it here so we can actually try and stop it in other parts of the country. So that is our answer to why America. This Trafficking in America Task Force is our organization. And today we're going to talk about that task force, what our mission and vision is, who we are, where we're going, and what we're doing. Because we want you to become involved. We want you to understand this issue, and we want you to do what you can in your own area. Our vision is to educate and bring awareness to America about the issue of human trafficking, and then mobilizing people in their hometowns, in their cities and states, to do something to stop it and do something to prevent it. Prevention will stop it if we can reach a generation and say, no more, we will not tolerate this. So right now I want to begin by showing you a PSA that we created to introduce you to human trafficking and give you a little human trafficking 101 about human trafficking in America.
This is the second fastest growing crime in America.
This is a $32 billion industry, which will now supersede drugs and narcotics.
It's become the second largest crime in the United States of America.
There's billions upon billions of dollars of profit to be made in trafficking.
Very few people of Tennessee realize that this past year, 4,000 young people were drawn into the sex trafficking trade. And these are lives that will never be the same.
Most people aren't even aware that it's happening in the United States, let alone their own neighborhoods in the state of Tennessee.
Here in the United States of America, we are the largest consumers of the sex trafficking trade.
It'll be the fastest growing crime in America by this time next year. My name is Yvonne Williams, Director of the Trafficking in America Task Force. On September 27, 2011, Governor Haslam signed a proclamation declaring the second week in November Human Trafficking Awareness Week in the state of Tennessee. What impact do you think that might make?
Well, I think the key to this is really raising the public consciousness of this problem. And the governor is doing that through the proclamation that he issued. You're doing that on a day-to-day basis, obviously. But the more that we can make the public aware of this problem and encourage the public to act when they feel that something suspicious is going on, the more we'll be able to get a handle on this and really tackle the problem effectively.
But there's something different. As I'm walking in the door, this little girl makes a comment to me, and she says, "You can't come in here." She said, "It's my birthday. No men on my birthday." the lady from New York whispers in my ear, "Did you hear what she said?" And I said, "Yeah, she's precocious." She goes, "No, did you hear what she said? What words did she say to you, Van?"
And you didn't get it.
What 9-year-old girl would say, "No men on my birthday"? And I guess that's where some of my innocence left at that moment.
Yeah.
Because I became aware of what horrible things could be happening literally minutes from my home.
It'll have great impact because it's going to make the public aware of what we know and that we have a problem with human sex trafficking in the state. For law enforcement, the public's our eyes and ears. We've got to have them in any type of crime, but especially in these types of crimes. So it's going to allow us to get out and educate the public, not only law enforcement, but the public on what to see, how to understand what this problem is, and how to identify the problem, and who to get in contact with. And that makes a world of difference when you're trying to fight something like that.
This has been a crime that has swept across Europe but has gone untapped here in the United States as far as awareness. And I feel that my responsibility as an advocate and the citizen of the state of Tennessee should bring awareness to everyone so that there is not a child who has to suffer through this, not an adult, woman, man, boy, anyone who has to suffer through this.
The lives of these young people are being ruined. It's a horrendous crime that literally steals the childhood and youth away from these people. And we want to help put an end to it. In order to do that, we need you to do your part. If you don't do anything more than educate yourself about this issue and then perpetuate that in social media, you'll be doing your part. Thank you so much, and we hope you'll help us make a difference in this horrendous issue.
So I hope that PSA gave you a little bit of education on human trafficking, what it's doing to our culture, what our culture is doing to bring about this issue, and I hope it did ignite something in you to say, oh my gosh, what can I do? So let me tell you now some of our programs. I'll start first with talking about our state chapters. One of our goals as an organization is to reach out across America and to create and recruit people to begin Trafficking in America Task Force chapters across the country. We want one in every state, at least one in every state, by the end of 2013. We are proud to announce we do have our first chapter, and that's Wisconsin. We have TIATF Wisconsin, who is really on fire and attacking this issue with everything they have. They're meeting with their legislators, their law enforcement, the other NGOs they're partnering with, and they're really going after this in Wisconsin to try and make a difference. So that's one of our goals, is to create these chapters and if we can use the word market, brand who we are across this country, and have each one of those chapters be a part of what we're doing. They're required, if you're interested in becoming a chapter, you're required to do at least one of our national programs, and we'll talk about those throughout the show. And you're required to reach out to legislators, and you're required to do at least one awareness program in your state on an annual basis. If you're interested in that, you can go to our website, traffickinginAmericaTaskForce.org, and click on the page that says State Chapters. That will give you the guidelines and requirements as far as what we're looking for in a chapter. They are all volunteer-based. We're an all-volunteer organization at this point, and we are growing by leaps and bounds. So if you have something in your heart to do to help us, if you're in another state, give us a call, contact us, and we will get you started with your own chapter in your state to fight human trafficking. Another way that we bring education awareness to this area, to Tennessee, to America, is that we do public speaking. We have presentations anywhere from 15 minutes for the short term, quick, get a little preview of what it's all about, to 2 hours and beyond to really educate you on the issue of human trafficking, sex trafficking, and labor trafficking in America. We speak at schools, we speak at churches, we speak at civic organization events, conferences, law enforcement. We've spoken at apartment complexes. Anyone that has an open door for us and wants to learn about human sex trafficking or human trafficking via sex trafficking and labor trafficking, it's a mouthful, to become educated. That, we feel, is the most important thing that we can do in this country, is to learn and become educated so we can spot the issue, we can prevent victims, and hopefully deter this from happening again. Right now, I want you to watch just a short preview on a speaking engagement that I did for the Tennessee Conference on Social Welfare.
The Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000 defines severe forms of trafficking in persons as the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining of a person for the purpose of a commercial sex act, in which a commercial sex act is induced by force, fraud, or coercion, or in which the person forced to perform such an act is under the age of 18 years of age. Today, we're primarily talking about sex trafficking. There's also labor trafficking, which we're going to get into in the next 12 months with our organization. So we have like a 5-6 time problem with labor trafficking of kids across the world, and that's just now also coming to light, and we're going to be doing some really good education on that issue and how America is affecting that as well. Here's some statistics, and I want you to really get these. Traffickers in the big time have no conscience. It's all about the money. Over 50% of victims are from the runaway population. 2/3 of runaways return home within 48 hours. The other 1/3 are generally abducted by traffickers and are prostituted within 48 hours. So I think this has been like 3 or 4 generations of abuse that is culminating in this thing called human sex trafficking across our country. And the reason I include perpetrators is because the perpetrators are not brand new at this. This again is wounded this on down through the years to where it's culminated in this. And a lot of our perpetrators have also been abused as kids. And that's what we have to understand if we're going to make a dent in this issue. Right now, we're just learning about it. It's grassroots, ground roots, and we're just saying, oh my gosh, this is happening. But finally, we have to address all the issues connected, and that is one of them. Victims are used as high as 30 to 40 times a day, with the average being about 10 times. So if you have a victim, say 200,000-300,000, and they're used 10 times a day, that's at the top of the game right here, 3 million. If only 300,000 trafficked every year, 3 million men are buying illegal sex of children and women across this country today. Let's go to Tennessee and Davidson County. This is the one that shocked Tennessee. The TBI was presented a challenge from the General Assembly last year to do a report on Tennessee, and we're the first state that's ever done that. So TBI did a report, and they sent out a survey to law enforcement, to social workers. Some of you may have gotten that. Did anybody get that report from TBI or that survey? Anyway, judges, a lot of different people, primary caregivers were given the survey, and in that survey they discovered in the last, that's actually 24 months, I apologize, that's incorrect, it's 4,000 cases in the last 24 months statewide were discovered in Tennessee. These were not arrests, these are cases that people knew about, that through, again, for social services, they discovered through talking with the kids and mentoring the kids and whatever means they had. 4 counties reported over 100 cases in the last 12 months, and that was Shelby County, Davidson County, Coffee, and Knox County. So in Davidson County, right here, we had over 109 cases last year. Coffee County, because of the drug culture down there. Coffee County is known for methamphetamines and production of drugs, and that's drawing the traffickers. Where you have drugs, you have traffickers. Yeah, and the reason is, drugs are sold once. Bodies are sold repeatedly. Reported about 80% of what kids learn, they learn from television. Think back when we were kids, what did we see? What affected us? And as you know today, if you watch much television, that every movie out there has a sexual undertone, violence, and language, the 3 components that Hollywood uses in films to sell films. In 1953, pornography through Playboy, some of us in here remember that. I was born in 53. I don't remember that moment, but I know about Playboy. But that's when the commercialization of women for the first time occurred in this country, and it's grown progressively. And the thing that I find interesting about that is that in 53, it was after the war, several years after the war, but the country was trying to overcome poverty, much like we're doing right now. And because of that, Hugh Hefner met with some leaders in the country and came up with a solution to the poverty that was men will pay to look at pretty women. And the first magazine, and women will pay to look at men. It's not one-sided, but back then that was what they used. So they came up with Playboy. From what I understand, the first magazine didn't even show skin. It just showed pretty women. But we were commercialized for the first time. And it's grown progressively since then. So you have to go back to some of these roots, and we have to do something. Yes, our First Amendment is valuable, but there's a limit. I have to say that. There is a limit when we can't protect people from things like this. So that's something that we're going to try and begin to address. Since we made our film, we met a lot of people in Hollywood and learned how they think. And they think, they think a lot like traffickers. It's all about the money. We're just a whole society of we don't know how to love each other anymore. We just don't. And the statistic that gets me is the church and the condition of the church. Because if the church is in such bondage like that, where's our hope? You know, when they're the ones that are supposed to be helping us all overcome this stuff. And now we're created in the image and likeness of God. And I think that's going to help us overcome a lot of this if we can help people understand their worth. What are you really worth? Forget the dollar. What are you worth? I heard some conversation this morning about the us-them mentality, and we need to get rid of the us-them mentality. We are all connected, and if we can understand that when I see a wounded person, that's a wounded part of me, and I need to address that. I'm going to go back to my initial statement when I learned about this. It's like God opened my heart, and He poured Himself in me through these victims and these perpetrators, and I got that. I got it. It's like we're all one.
And for those that want to really become proactive in fighting human trafficking, another part of our mission is to engage the youth in America. Since the youth are the primary targets of human trafficking, we feel we need to reach out and bring education to them and get them involved. I think that this is probably my favorite campaign, favorite part of what we're doing right now, because helping youth grow to become full, happy, healthy citizens is major for me. Not long ago, well actually it was last summer when we were forming our organization, one of our partners, A Bridge of Hope, and I were communicating, and she told me that she woke up that morning with the words, "I promise to do my part." And we had a campaign called We Are Worth More. So we talked about both, and both of us had the very same vision for what we wanted to do. So we decided on using the words, "I promise to do my part." They were more proactive and more engaging. And so we created the campaign called I Promise to Do My Part, which is created to reach out to the youth. You can become an I Promise to Do My Part youth ambassador in your college. The college level, you will become a state ambassador actually. And you can create a club on campus. We have a PowerPoint presentation for you. We have a PDF. It's about a 60-page PDF booklet called the Empowerment Report, which will help you understand the issue of sex trafficking, how victims are caught, how they're launched into this, how they're picked up. It tells you about the traffickers, how they work. It's an amazing, amazing report that we have written to help educate you. So you can become a state ambassador of I Promise to Do My Part in your college and in your high school. For those at the high school level, you can also become an I Promise to Do My Part ambassador. Engage your peers, your friends, and your family members in this issue by just becoming educated. The program is open for you to use your own creativity, start clubs, start campaigns, do whatever's in your heart to do to bring awareness to your peers and your family and your friends at the youth level. We're very excited about that campaign. Another area that we are focused on, and this is actually what launched us into the Trafficking America Task Force, and that's our annual national conference. We held our first one last year. You've heard us talk about it on the program before if you've been following us. But the conference this year is in Nashville once again. It's May 24th, 25th, and 26th. And I'm going to show you about a 5-minute clip from last year's conference so you can get an idea of what we did, some of the speakers, and some of the ones that might be back this year. At this year's conference, we have 30 speakers talking about 30 different topics, everything connected to sex trafficking, labor trafficking. We have a for youth only forum, for pastors only forum, because unfortunately this issue does affect the church. And so we want you to go to our website and take a look at the conference and see if you would be interested in attending that event. It's www.traffickinginamericaconference.info. You can see the agenda, the speakers, and all the details. You can register there, and you can reserve your room reservation as well. It's at the Holiday Inn, Elm Hill Pike in Nashville, Tennessee, May 24th, 25th, and 26th. So let's watch this preview from last year's conference.
We talked about what the real face of prostitution was. Contrary to the Pretty Woman scenario, this is the face of a young girl as she was photographed by a Denver police officer over multiple arrests. It's estimated in many ways that if you don't get out of prostitution, your life expectancy is 7 years. There was one study that showed that women in the trade have a 200 times greater mortality rate than women working in any other occupation, police women or firefighters. The vast majority of these girls are not foreign born. They are American girls who are trafficked in American cities. We looked at, and we're going to be discussing today, is it really a choice? Do they really have a choice?
The more I read and the more I educated myself on the role, the more I was able to start really seeing. I likely am working with some of these kids, at least in the prostitution side of it, not having trafficked yet, but they are so prone to these type of predators. They're weak, they're uneducated, they're unloved, they feel unimportant, their self-esteem and their self-worth is at an all-time low, and it just, I thought though I couldn't connect to this girl, I was like, oh my gosh, I know her. I work with these kids all the time, and I could have been one just like that. And who, when he said earlier that we were all one step away, we are. We're one step away from an abuser, or one step away from a tragedy that could put ourselves there. So as Yvonne wrote this role that I thought I was so polar opposite from, my world just kept closing in on how I understood this girl and how quickly we all could be her.
I actually got to see it up close and personal, and actually, with my degrees and my experience of living in 25 countries and working in so many areas, I come back and I see the big picture a little differently. And so I want to sort of provide for you a global view of the big picture to see what a massive problem this is. It's not going to be solved by handling one of those areas. Every one of these areas has to be tackled. Unfortunately, when we look at, you may, after going through this short 30-minute session, become overwhelmed with the hopelessness of the cause. But it's not hopeless. One person can make a difference. And even if you only make a difference in one person's life, it's worth it.
So, let's move on. Talking about child pornography. It's a $3 billion a year industry. And this is half of the $6 billion that we talked about previously in the slide. So child pornography is generating half of the pornography industry's dollars. Our children are generating half of the dollars in child pornography, in pornography. There are more strip clubs in the United States than any other nation in the world. Why is that so significant? We'll continue on in this conversation about women, and you will see that 66 to 90% of women in the industry were sexually abused as children. This is critical when we began talking about why our kids being lured into the industry. But that is a huge percentage. As a child, a woman is abused, and then she moves on into adulthood with this abuse and all of the other extras that go along with that. And so it's even harder to move yourself out of an industry when you have been abused as a child.
The problems, the issues can be so enormous and overwhelming. One of my favorite quotes is that to succumb to the enormity of the problem is to fail the one. And that is what we believe at Mercy, is that we are ending sex trafficking one victim at a time. And the greatest way to bring awareness to the United, there's 60 million students, college and university students in the United States. And our heart is to go onto these campuses and use this movie, the short film, the allegory called The Candy Shop. And we also play the song The Candy Shop. And we talk about, the greatest thing I think that we can do for our young people, and starting as young as 13 and even younger now, is to talk about sex and to be open and to give a place to do that. Many of these children don't feel like they have an openness or a place to be safe to talk about the issues.
So you've gotten a glimpse of who Trafficking in America Task Force is, and I hope that it does inspire you to do something in your area. Like I said, our vision is to educate and bring awareness to America on human trafficking and to inspire people to work in their own communities to fight this issue. We can't afford another day to go by without someone doing something and everybody doing something in this country to stop this. We have major changes to make. We need to address issues from legislature to the pornography industry to Hollywood. You name it, we have to address it. There's something wrong in our culture to cause this kind of epidemic of our youth being attacked sexually in this manner. It's atrocious, and we have to do something about it. So this is who we are. We have volunteer opportunities all across America. Again, we mentioned the state chapters. If you're interested in starting a chapter, give us a call. If you want to work on our conference coming up in May, we have a lot of volunteer opportunities for that event. So you can contact us regarding volunteering for the conference. I promise to do my part campaign, my favorite campaign for youth. Youth all across America need to be engaged in this. It's a very simple, no money, no nothing campaign that enables you to become educated and help your peers. You might help stop one of your friends from becoming a trafficked victim. So that promise to do my part campaign is a major volunteer opportunity all across America. So thank you once again for being with us today. Thank you for listening. Come back next week and listen as well. In the meantime, visit our websites, www.traffickingamericataskforce.org. Facebook is Trafficking in America Task Force Facebook group. Become a member of that, and daily you can follow the dialogue and become educated right there. We also have a Twitter account. It's Twitter. It's A-Dance4 Bethany. That's our Twitter account. And then, of course, the conference website, www.traffickinginamericaconference.info. We really want you to attend that conference. It's $99 for a 3-day event, plus your room. It will be not only an educational event, but we're having an awards banquet following that to honor people that have really done a lot of work in regard to human trafficking. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again next time.
She was born, her mommy and daddy cried, taken by the wonder of her life. From Barbie dolls to ballet shoes, from roller skates to lipstick and rouge, she's become a lady overnight. Why do I see only flesh and look right past her heart? I try to tell myself I can't help what